Yeah. See, for posting your queries, I'll create this. If it is not comfortable, or maybe you can create a group in WhatsApp or Telegram. That should be fine for me. Today we'll start with the Selenium automation. So I'll just set up the project from the beginning. Last class we started launching the browser. Okay, I'll just quickly repeat that step, and then we'll get into the Selenium concepts. Yeah, you can use this. You can post it to everyone. Everyone can access that link in incognito mode. Whatever the doubts you have, you can post it here. Okay, you can create new page also in case if you want to give anything. Give the page name here. And I'll update the session updates. So that everyone can reach. Yeah. Fine. So today we'll start with the Selenium basic activities. We'll do it. Okay, I'll just mention all the details here. Going forward, it would be better if you continuously join the session. You can start doing the automation with Selenium. Okay. So today we'll create the project and we'll start with the Selenium WebDriver. Let me open the session one and quickly give you an idea about what we've done till now. Everyone able to see my screen? So last week we started with Java, and then we discussed about writing the Java architecture and creating the projects, data types, and conditional statement, iterative statement is what we have covered, and debugging process, and how to create a static method, how to call what is exactly static, non-static. So that would be the important session, difference between static and non-static, understanding that with the help of variable. Till that we have completed. Okay, class as an object. If you understand what is exactly a class and object, with some diagram I explained you about what is going to happen when you create an object, and some concepts regarding that, how to create your own user defined data types, basically a class, and return that as a, making it as a return type and making it as an argument. Like every class, like employee class, student class, can become a return type, and can also pass it as an argument. That's what we have discussed. And then Git configuration is what I've told you, and then constructor logic I've told you. And parallelly, what we did is I just gave you an introduction to Selenium. Then we started creating the project for working with Selenium WebDriver and launch the browser. If you notice the Selenium WebDriver script, we have to write the code using Java plus Selenium WebDriver. And when you run the script, it will launch the browser. The browser will be launched through the driver. And that is what we have done it in the last class. Let me quickly give you an I'll just recreate the project and show you. So you can open any workspace. Better if you create our project quickly, a new project. So these are the things we have done till now. So what we did basically is the last class we created a project, a new project I created. I'll create one more project for working with Selenium quickly. So first, in order to work with Selenium, we need to create a Java project. Let me rename this project. To rename the project, you can right click on it, refactor, and I'll rename it as old. I'll create a new project right now. So file, a new Java project is what I created. And while creating a Java project, I gave the name as Selenium concept, and then click on finish. A project created. Now, in order to work with Selenium related codes, the Selenium related code will be given by the Selenium team. So hence we create a project, Java configuration will happen. So Java related jars will be available, like string class system.out.println, and those code will be available, libraries. And apart from that, the third party libraries, for example, in order to work with web automation, we'll rely on Selenium. Selenium team gives you the jar detail. What you need to do is first you have to create a project, configure the Selenium jar. and you can download the jar, download and configure the jar, get the Selenium related code. So you can click on this latest stable version. It will download the jar. I just kept the jar in particular directory. Here is the jar. Once you create the project, we have to right click on the project, build path, configure build path. And when you go for configure build path, you can see module path and class path. If you are doing, let me know. Okay, if you're setting up the project, let me know. So first you need to create a Java project. Then the last class we have discussed this. I have to right click on the project, build path, configure build path. Here, library section, you see module and class path. I have to choose the class path and then add external jar. This jar I need to click and then add it. Basically open, apply and close. Now you can see reference library will be added to the project. Inside this jar, you will have lots of packages. These packages is what we will be discussing in the session. Going further for web automation, just a linear related jar. Then inside the project, as usual, we'll create a package. Okay, those things you need to do. Create a package class. All these things are class, and you can create a object of class called Chrome driver. That's what we have done in the last class. If you see in the last class code, what I done over here is I created a project, created a package, then created a object of Chrome driver. Okay, this is what I have done. So today we'll be seeing on the same thing after opening the browser, some basic operations I'll be showing. So let me create a new package, com dot. Then I'll be creating the company name dot Selenium basics. I'll create the package name. Inside that I have created one class called launch browser demo. Launch browser demo, that's the class main method. Here for every browser in Java, if you take, there will be a concept of class for sure. It will be there. Inside the class, static method, non-static methods will be there. So we have to use the method, or we have to call that method properly based on the option. Like if it is a static method, we address using class name. If it is a non-static method, we create an object. Now there is a class called Selenium Chrome driver. There is a class called Chrome driver. Just kept it somewhere here. There's a class called Chrome driver. Now that class has lots of non-static method. Either this class will be having the method or its parent class will have the method. Leave about everything because we discussed about one class. So in order to call the non-static method, I need to create an object. Let me do that. Chrome driver, and it's a class. So it should be following up camel case. Driver equal to new Chrome driver. That's the object which I'll be creating. This is how we have to create an object. That's what I have shown you in previous class. By creating an employee object, student object, a lot of things we discussed on this object creation for employee class. Now, if you are trying to add a class from a different package, you are creating an object for a class in a different package. If you are doing so, then you have to do an option like import. If you see here, somewhere in methods demo, somewhere I created, see for example, under com.nsc.student, if I create an object for employee class is there in this project. Our concept contains employee class. Now to create an object, I can create this. Now you can see when I create an object of employee, it will throw error. My code will throw error because I have to tell where the employee class is coming from. It comes from com.nsc.employee import option you need to give. That is over here in the same project. Right now, whatever I'm trying to use, all are going to come from the Selenium jar, which I configured. Jar is nothing but a collection of packages which will have the classes. I have to tell the detail. The Chrome driver comes from org.import that. Over on it, import it, give the spelling properly. If you give d as lowercase, you don't get any import option. Now, org.openq.selenium.com. It is already designed by the Selenium team. So if you see Selenium is an open source code only. If you Google Selenium GitHub, you will be getting the GitHub link. In the GitHub link, if you go to this particular package, you can find the detail. For example, in the GitHub link, Selenium GitHub link, Java, src, org.openq.selenium, and inside Selenium, you can see something related to Chrome. Inside Chrome, I can see the class called Chrome driver. You can see it's a open source code only. This is the source code. Inside this, lots of method will be there, which we will be trying to call. Okay. Now, if you for getting this class only, we added jar. Inside the jar, you can see those packages. So org.openqa.selenium.chrome. Inside that Chrome driver is what I'm trying to access. But this code is basically trying to launch the browser. When I run this program, it will try to launch the browser. Now, while launching the browser, let me run the code and show you. This is the error I'm getting. How to fix this error and why we are getting this error. This part also I just discussed in the last week. So how to fix this error? Any idea? Java plus Selenium WebDriver script is what we are writing. Java
by
plus
providing exe path. Chrome driver exe path.
Yeah. So Selenium WebDriver is the concept. Whoever refers to Selenium, they refer to WebDriver. There are 4 components in Selenium: ID, RC, WebDriver, grid. WebDriver is something which we will be discussing throughout the session. The architecture will be like this. We use Java plus Selenium WebDriver jar and written the code. This is your source code. When you run the source code, basically, it will connect to the browser. Okay. How it is going to connect to the browser? With the help of driver. So based on your browser version, you need to download the driver. Okay, download and configure driver based on browser version and platform. Let me tell you quickly. Right now, I'm trying to launch Chrome browser. For that, selenium.dev under downloads. If you scroll down a bit, you can see browser drivers. Okay, drivers is what I need to download. So here, Chrome documentation will be there. Launching the Chrome browser. And under downloads, you can see different version of Chrome drivers. You need to understand your platform. My platform is Windows and the browser version which I have is 99 point something. This is the browser version. Now based on my browser version, I need to download the driver. If it is updating, just wait for some time. It's getting updated. Okay. For example, if I am launching Firefox, then I have to get the driver. So everything happens through the driver only. So it's your duty to configure the driver. That is what, if you don't configure the driver, you will get this error, illegal state exception. Download and configure the driver based on the version. That's what we need to do. Let me make sure it's updated, relaunch it. It says 99.99 version only, set related with the 0.82 ending with 0.82. I have to go to Chrome driver option, that driver details, Chrome driver, and you can see for 99, this is the detail it shows. I have to download this. If you download it, just click on it. It will show you the platform details. Right now we are using Windows, so I have to download this. Already I have it. If you click on it, it will download and give you a file like this, a zip folder. I have to right click on it, extract it. Always zip folder, remember that you need to extract. Once you extract it, right now you will get the exe file, Chrome driver exe. Suppose if I'm running this code, the same code in Linux machine, I have to make sure in that Linux machine Chrome browser is available and driver is available. You have to configure it. It's your duty to configure the driver with the help of driver. And I already have it. It's in my D drive driver. This is the Chrome driver exe. Now here, before launching the browser, lots of option is there to set up. I can add it to environment variable and all. The option which we used in the session is using the concept called set property. In the error, you will get a key. The path through the driver must be set by the webdriver.chrome.driver. That's the key. You have to copy the key and give the directory of chromedriver.exe file. So there is a class called system. The system class is coming from java.lang only. The system class is coming java.lang. That there is a static method called set property. Hereafter, this method you need to set property. It will ask for key and value. Both are string. System is a class coming from java.lang. It's coming from Java library. Now, key is something which will be given by the Selenium team. Selenium.webdriver.chrome. Selenium webdriver.chrome.driver given by the Selenium team. That too, you will get it in the error. The value we need to give basically the Chrome driver exe file detail. My Chrome driver is present in this particular folder. This is the file. Let me click on Chrome driver.exe, copy the path. When I copy the path, basically it will give you something like D drive /software/Chrome driver.exe. That's the file name extension. I have to keep it here. Second argument. Let me do that. Now in Java, / is having a special meaning. In Java, the / is actually having a special meaning. For example, system.out.println, let me give Bala /n. Hello. So if you see here, this / with double quotes, let me give it. Now I have given something like /n, and when I run this program, you can see it will print Bala /n in the sense it will go to new line. So right now there are lots of special meaning for /. Now I have to give the directory symbol. It should be a directory. So in order to fix that issue, for example, / if I give, it will get confused whether you're using it for a special character or directory. For directory, what I need to do is I have to give 2 /. You can see here. When I give 2 /, it will take it as 1 /. In Java, most of the programming will be following the same thing. So I have to just give 2 /. That's it. Okay, let me save it and then run the program. Now, if you see here, just listen carefully. It will launch the browser. The browser which is getting launched will not have any histories or cookies. This is the configuration I have done right now. I am able to get the source code. Basically, I'm able to write the source code with the help of jars, what I added. Configuration is done on the jar for writing the code. Once you add the jar, you can write the code. And when you run it, browser will be connected with the help of driver. If driver is not connected, you will get this error. You need to download and fix it. It's clear for you till this? This is what we have done in the last class. Now going further, we'll do some automation. Okay. Now this part, if you Google it and check it, how to launch the browser in Selenium, you will get something like this. Launch browser in Selenium. If you Google it, you can see the script will be like webdriver.chrome.driver. Webdriver.chrome.driver. First give WebDriver here. Driver. Okay, and then hover on it, import it. This is an object creation, and you can see this is also going to launch the Chrome browser. And even though if I give a Chrome driver equal to new browser, this is also going to launch the Chrome browser. Okay, right now you have to understand many OOPS concept to understand it technically. So I'll just give you an idea about it. For example, how a browser, this is the object creation. Object is created for a class called Chrome driver. This is the object. While creating an object, it's trying to launch the browser. How it is able to launch the browser, that concept also I've just gave you an introduction in the last class. That is constructor. In employee class, I created a constructor. Constructor name and class name will be same. And this gets called whenever you create an object. You can see whenever you create an object, the constructor will be called. Okay, and when I run the program, you can see 3 objects I'm creating. Let me show you quickly in debug mode. While creating an object, it will call the constructor which you created. Constructor name and class name will be same. Inside this, you can write any logic, browser launch logics and all you can write if you want. Okay, basically that is something like a prerequisite for the class. If you want to do some prerequisite for the object, you can add it in the constructor. Constructor name and class name will be same, no return type. And if you don't create any constructor, basically a default constructor will be there, which you can override by creating your own constructor. You can create constructor with argument, without argument, which we will discuss it later. Okay, right now the object creation tries to launch the Chrome browser. This is for Chrome. For Firefox, there is a class called Firefox driver. No need to type each and every character. Use the auto suggestion. If I use Edge driver, if I do, it will try to launch the Edge browser. Now you see here, Edge driver object is created that I can store it in Edge driver or parent of Edge driver. That is a concept. When I run this is specific Edge driver, it will try to launch the Edge browser. Right now you can see again it is throwing the path to the driver must be set by the webdriver.edge.driver. So why we are getting this error again? So what we need to do in this case? Same, right? Yes. So again, you need to create this one system.property. You can add a number of set property. This is one of the way. There are a lot of way. This is one of the way. System.property. Now we are trying to launch the Edge browser. So for that key will be different. Webdriver.edge.driver. That's the key, and driver will also be different. You have to understand what is your Edge browser. In start, you can search for Edge, get the version of Edge, and then you have to download the Edge driver. Let me delete it first of all. Delete the second argument. I have to make sure Edge browser version. This is my Edge driver. I'll go to this. So there's some issue with my Edge browser, so I just stopped it. Now what I need to do is I have to check the version of the Edge browser, and then I have to go to Selenium browser section. I have to choose Edge. Here you will have lots of drivers available. You have to understand what is the version. I guess in my machine, the version is 99 or something. x86 is for 32-bit, 64 is bit operating system, Mac, Linux. So right here, basically Linux will be available here. So 64 I need to download, and after downloading, this is the zip folder. Extract it. You will get the driver. Copy the path and give it the second argument. Now when I run this program, to /code directly. When I run this program, it will use this key and find the driver. Whatever the script you write, it will be transferred. This object detail will try to transfer the detail of browser launch of Edge to this particular driver. and then it will do the operation. Let me run the script. I think some issue with my Edge driver, Edge browser. You can see it just launches the Edge browser. Let me close it and ping. Okay, fine. Now, similarly for Firefox, I need to do Firefox. Now, what we do in real time is we will do a cross-browser testing. Just understand this quickly. Later, we will be seeing more on this OOPS concept. See, sometimes I want to run with the Edge driver. Sometimes I want to run with the Firefox driver. So you will be writing an if condition. For example, we are doing something like this. Chrome driver we were launching. And after some time, I want to launch using new Edge driver. You can see new Edge driver. Now here I am launching a Chrome driver and storing it in Chrome driver. Now driver will be related to Chrome driver only. Left hand side we have declared Chrome driver. You cannot do driver equal to new Edge driver. After some time you cannot do that. Using the same variable you cannot do this. Okay. For doing a cross browser testing, what we have to do is we will write if condition. Okay, if browser equal to ch, driver equal to new Chrome driver. Else driver equal to new Edge driver. We will be writing some logic like that. So to achieve those kind of logics and all, the objects we have to store it in a common place. The objects we have to store it in a common place. Chrome driver, Edge driver, Firefox driver, Internet Explorer driver, Safari driver, all these we can store it in a one parent because there is a parent called web driver. You can see there is something called web driver, which we will be discussing later because all the OOPS concept, if we start taking it right now, it will confuse you. Let me show you the document of web driver. And all these documents are going to be available for open source environment. You can see a web driver. Okay, basically it's a parent. This particular parent is going to see this web driver is basically implemented. Basically, this is the syntax. These are the methods we want, like closing the browser, launching the browser. So first, there is a parent. Okay, for example, an object can be created. Right now, we have discussed about one class, so I'm just storing it in the same class. Going further for doing a cross-browser testing, what we need to do is in a single layer, we'll try to store. So there is a parent called web driver. Web driver is something but an interface. We'll discuss about the interface. Interface will have only method declaration. For example, methods like for closing the browser and methods like get for navigating to the URL and find element for finding the element. So these are the methods which I want it in all the classes. For adding this in all the classes, what happened in general is based on OOPS concept, they have created an interface called web driver. Okay, that is the web driver right now. This is the web driver. It has lot of that you can see only declaration will be there. And the definitions will be given by the classes whichever is implementing this interface. There is a class called Chrome driver, Firefox driver, Edge driver. All the classes is getting like inheriting the basically implementing the web driver interface. When they implement the web interface, they have to give the definition. Let's quickly I give you an overview on this OOPS concept. just look into this chrome dot nsc dot oops, and inside this package I'll create one dummy class quickly, class called browser text with main method. Now I'll show you how to create an interface quickly. We will be working on inheritance and we will be working on interface again. So I'll going to create interface. I'll create an interface called WebDriver demo. This is an interface. WebDriver demo is what I created interface name. Now inside this interface, I will create a few methods like void. Only declaration will be there. Return type, method name, and return type, method name, argument if any, you can mention the argument. You can see I've just declared the method. I'll declare return type string, get title. So I've declared three method here. I've declared a three method here. Just declaration is done. Return type, method name. Return type, method name, argument. I have declared three methods. Now what happened in real time is this interface is going to have only declaration. This is not a class, so you cannot create an object. It will have only the method declaration. Now there will be lots of classes like Chrome driver demo. I'll keep Chrome driver demo. Now in this class, I should have the method. For doing a cross-browser testing, what is mandatory? You automate something in Chrome and you want to run it in Firefox. So in this, if you notice it, whatever the code you use for automating the Chrome browser, that should be available in Firefox for doing a cross-browser testing, right? Just understand this. See, whatever the code I use from Chrome driver object, basically from that object, driver dot non-static method. Whatever the object, these methods I'm using, find element and driver dot get for navigating to the URL. I'm using all these methods, right? If I want to do a cross-browser testing, I have to change this line to edge driver equal to new edge driver or something, which means those codes should be available in all the classes. These code are should be available in all the browser class, right? For doing cross-browser testing. Now, how Selenium team is going to achieve that? For that, they used a concept called abstraction. Abstraction is nothing but concept of providing the rules over here. Okay, it's one of the concept of providing the rule, basically hiding the complete feature and just providing the template. For example, if you see here, whatever the methods I want for cross-browser testing, I will be giving the declaration here. Now, Chrome should have the definition for this method because the logic in Chrome will be different. Firefox should have the definition of this method. If you blindly start creating the method, something like public void, there's a chance you might miss the method in Firefox. The method will be there in Chrome driver, but it will not be there in Firefox. So I cannot do the cross-browser testing. So to overcome these kind of issues and all, they've used an interface concept. Class will implement the interface. Interface name is WebDriver demo. Once you implement the interface, it will throw error. You have to fix this compile error. You have to give the definition for all the abstract methods. Basically, these are called abstract method, which we'll be discussing about it. You can see we have to give the definition for all these methods. Now, if you notice it, you'll have the methods. Quit method is there. Logic we have to write. Git method is there. Get title is there. So for sure it will be there. By mistake, if you delete any one of this, it will start throwing the error and ask you to implement the method. And the logics will be applicable for all the browser class. Again, I will be implementing it. You can see the definition is going to be available. For doing a cross-browser testing, so what we need to do here is, if I do Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver, the object what I'm creating is Chrome driver. So it will be related to Chrome driver. But I can store it in Chrome driver demo, or I can store it in parent of Chrome driver. For doing a cross-browser testing, so instead of changing the entire line and doing the operation, right now if you see, if I do driver dot, it will show methods only from basically the methods from Chrome driver. We don't want that. We want to get the method from WebDriver, and during the execution, I want to use these method. Okay. So for doing one of the main reason why we store it in WebDriver is cross-browser testing. Okay. So you can see here, new Chrome driver I can store. And if I want to launch Firefox, the Firefox I can do by just changing the object detail. Just changing the object detail, you will be able to achieve the cross-browser testing. If condition, you can easily do driver equal to new Chrome driver, which will work because Firefox parent is WebDriver, Chrome parent is also WebDriver. Okay, this is the one of the important reason they are using an abstract concept for achieving this. So driver dot, you can see get. When I do driver dot get or driver dot quit, it shows method from which environment. Shows the method is from WebDriver demo, right? It shows the method is coming from WebDriver demo. Is WebDriver demo is having any definition for quit? Is WebDriver demo having any definition for quit? Just giving an overview. We have to see the detail on this, which we will be doing when we have a weekend session. It will be a huge topic, so weekend session I'll cover. Now you can see it shows WebDriver demo. Okay, let me debug the code. The right now during the declaration and all, it will think the method is coming from WebDriver. But during the runtime, based on the object you create, definition will be taken. If you notice it properly, you can see it is taking the definition from quit of Firefox driver demo. This is something called runtime polymorphism, which we will be seeing. During the object creation, the method to be called as decided. Right now, I'm during the, you can see it shows the method is coming from WebDriver. But when I debug it and check, it will take the definition from Chrome driver quit, the logic of Chrome driver quit. Okay, just a simple overview of this cross-browser testing. By changing the object, you will be able to achieve the cross-browser testing. That's the reason why we store it in WebDriver. As of now, even if you store it in Chrome driver, we will get the output, so no issues. But going further, when you design a framework and all, you have to use the code what is available in all the browser. Otherwise, you can't do cross-browser testing. That is the main reason why we try to store it in the WebDriver. Okay. Now, if I use driver.get as a method, you need to know method name. You should be knowing it, and the argument and return type. Argument is string URL. Return type is void, so no need to store. Driver.get, if I do, it will navigate to that particular URL. So URL you need to give. Let me try to give some. Facebook login we can pick. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me go to facebook.com, then click on create an account. Okay, it shows this pop-up. From this, I'll try to fill the details. Okay, so you have text box, drop down, all these things you'll get an idea today. Okay, basic idea about how to do automation and simple application. Now we am able to launch the browser. I need to navigate to this URL. To navigate to this URL, I can do driver. Then get is a method which will navigate to the URL. Right now you see it shows from WebDriver. WebDriver is basically an interface, will not have any definition. From where the definition will be taken right now. So you have to understand object created for Chrome driver. So the definition will be taken from the Chrome driver or parent of Chrome driver. That's the concept here. Okay. Now, if I run the program, it will launch the browser. The browser which is getting launched will not have any histories or cookies. See, we will have weekend session. Okay, at that time, it will take 4 to 6 hours to explain all the OOPS concepts that can be done. Okay. Right now, one object you should have a clarity. When you create an object for child, a parent memory will be allocated, then it will come for a child. Okay. So we'll see that later. So right now, this is the reason why we do store it in a WebDriver. One of the reason is doing a cross-browser testing. Other reason is hide the complete definition from the end user for the end user. Okay, that is basically concept of abstraction. And going further, we will try to call lots of method like this. Driver.get. If I wanted to click on create, like I wanted to click on create new account. When it comes to Git configuration, already I explained it. You guys can check on this. We will do it before winding up the session. Let me try to add few things. For example, if you know how to do click and how to do type and how to automate select drop down, basically, then like the drop down label or text. If you are able to do this, almost 60 to 70% of the web page you can cover. Right now, irrespective of the development, a development can be done in Java, Python, .NET, whatever it is. You don't want to worry. Okay, we are planning to use Java, Selenium only. So irrespective of the development, when it is rendering to the browser, it comes as an HTML. It comes as an HTML. So our duty is to understand the HTML and do the operation. So each and every element will have the HTML detail. Let me do one thing. If you have project setup issues, let me know. I created 3 things. You have to create a simple Java project, add the jar, configure the driver, write the code. That's it. Now you can see here. You should know how to inspect. Just concentrate this properly. I have to create a new account. In order to click on create new account, first I need to know the HTML content of this create new account. Let me right click on it, inspect it, right click and inspect, right click on that particular element and inspect. If that is not working, just inspect some other element. Click on this arrow mark. Click on this arrow mark. For example, I wanted to know the text box HTML detail. Right click on the text box, inspect. After inspecting, you should know what is the tag name from the HTML, and then what is attribute. Just 3 items you need to know whether it contains attribute or not, or like sometimes it will contain text or not. Okay, 3 items: tag name, attribute, text. Let's listen here. Inspect this. Whatever comes with this less than symbol, okay, angular bracket, that is basically a tag name. Tag name here is input. Tag name for this is div. Tag name over here is div. For this, what's the tag name here? In the HTML, you should know what is the tag name. Tag name is IMG is the tag name. Every element will have the tag name. Let me show some other elements over here. You can see tag name here is li, and you can click on this arrow mark. It will highlight. During that time, you can hover on it. Here you can see the tag name is a. Tag name is a. Now all the element will have the tag name. Okay. Here the tag name is button. Now you can identify element using tag name. You can identify an element using tag name. Let me inspect this. You can see the tag name is a. I'll inspect this also, forgot password, and you can see tag name is a. You can identify element using tag name. Right now, if I try to identify element using tag name, it will bring up a conflict because there are lots of tag name a. When you write some locator, when you write some identification detail, if there's a duplicate, it will pick the first one. So if I try to identify the element using tag name a, it will pick the first anchor tag. Starting from this HTML, it will pick the first anchor tag, first a tag. A stands for anchor tag. Okay. Now anyhow, using tag name only, we cannot identify the element. We have to go further. Let me inspect this element. For this tag name input, there are lots of attribute. Type is an attribute, class is an attribute, name is an attribute, ID is an attribute, data hyphen test ID is an attribute, placeholder, autofocus, area label. Okay, these are called attribute. These attributes will have some value. Okay, so let me inspect this element. Here the tag name is button, value, class, name, data hyphen test ID, type, ID, all these are attribute. Got it? Understood what is an attribute? Attribute will have values. Some values will be there. Name equal to login, type equal to submit. These are all some attribute and value. Clear what is an attribute? most of the elements will have some attributes. Even for image also you can see attribute like class, src, alt is there, alternate. Okay, got it. What is an attribute? After inspecting the element, now some element will have text or not. Text means these are all text you see in the UI, right? These are all text. Facebook helps you to connect, all these are text. Let me inspect it. You can see text comes in between the tag name. What's the tag name here? So basic idea you should have it. Tag name over here is h2. Okay. Yes. Now attribute is there, that's a class, and in between the tag name you can see the text. Yes. Okay, good. So now let's move on to the next step. So after inspecting the element, make sure you identify these three items. That's enough. And then you start practicing it. Parallelly, you will be able to understand all these things going further. We'll configure it later. Now inspect, you need to know. So basic locators, I'll give you an idea about basic locators. See, if you know how to do collecting from the drop down, you can start implementing the automation in websites. Going further, you'll be learning a lot of things. Okay. So it will take exactly 8 to 10 hours to totally understand Selenium concepts. So only Selenium automation framework and all, it will take some time. If you see here, basic locators, I'll give you quickly. There is a method called ID. There is a method called ID. We'll see about this method. ID, name, class name. These are all some basic locators. Tag name, method like tag name, and then link text, partial link text. Okay. Methods are available. Basic locators, and we have something called advanced locators, which we will be discussing. Suppose if I'm not able to use this basic locators, I'll go for this advanced locator, where we will be discussing something called Xpath and something called CSS. We'll discuss on this one by one. The first thing what you need to do is, after inspecting your element, you have to check whether you have an attribute ID, whether you have attribute ID for your element or not. You have to check for ID. Let me inspect the create new account. You can see when I right click on create new account, it's not working. So I can right click and inspect somewhere and use this arrow mode. Click on this arrow mode, inspect it. Now tag name is A. Do we have ID here? ID attribute. ID is there, right? So you can see ID is there. First preference will give it to ID. First preference will give it to ID. Okay. And let me show you here. Email address, inspect, I'll show you. You can see here for this text box. ID equal to email is there. Okay. I'll do one thing. What I'll do is I'll fill this form, like give some name, password, and click on login. I'll do. Then we go for create an account. Let me inspect this and show you. You can see ID equal to email is there. First preference will give it to ID. Let me take the ID. I have to go for methods and classes is what going to be available. There is a class called by. There's a class called by. Let's keep this a class called by. Inside the class, lots of static method is there. All these are static methods. Whatever I have written over here, all these are static methods. How will you call the static methods? All these are static methods only. How will you call the static method in Java?
Using class name.
Yes, using the class name. So listen carefully. Driver dot find element is the method. Driver dot find element. Already I told you how to pass employee as an argument. Okay. Now it will here, if you notice it, Driver dot find element, it is asking for by. Okay, how are you going to find the element? You have to give the by type. Don't get confused and don't think always it is string and all. Driver dot find element, you have to give the by type. How to give the by type? These methods will return the by ID, name, class name, link text, partial link text. These method return a by type, basically by object. I have to call the method. It's a static method comes inside the class by. You can see here by dot. If I give by dot, I will be able to see all the static method. You can see whatever the method I told you, it is going to be available. First preference will give it to ID. Let's go for ID by dot ID. By dot ID within the double quotes, I can give the like by dot ID is the method I call this, and you can see this method is asking for an argument. Argument is string. What is the return type here? After colon, what class details you see?
String.
No, string is an argument within the bracket. Return type. See for get method, you can see it's a return type here. Argument is string. Return type is
Void.
return type is void. Okay. Now driver dot find element, it's asking for in the bracket. You see it's asking for by. From class name it's asking. We will not know what is the class name. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to give by dot id. By dot id. ID is a static method. I use class name dot method name. While calling the method, it's asking for argument. Argument is asking for ID as a string. So I have to put the ID as a string in double quotes. That is argument. After colon, you see the return type. After colon, it's returning a type called by. Like employee, we can make it as a return type. See here. Don't get too confused on this. You have to understand that everything is not a string over here. See, I can create a method. This method is void. So I can create a method public return type. I'll just create it a static method. Static. I can give the return type as employee. Return employee instance. Okay. So you see this method. Okay. Get employee instance. And you can see the return type is employee. So which means I have to do return employee object, need to create it and send it. Employee object is I need to create it and send it. Return E. Okay. Return type can be any, it can be any. If you give int, you have to return integer. If you give double, you have to return double. If it is a student, you have to return a student object. If it is a by type, you have to return a by object. So how do you call this method basically? This method is a static method inside the class employee. How do you call this method?
Using
Static.
class name.
Yeah, so I do this employee dot get employee instance. You see there is no argument. What is the return type of this particular method?
Employee.
Employee.
Okay.
Okay, so I have to store it in employee. Basically, I need to do this employee. So instead of creating the object every time, what I can do, I can call this method. This method create an instance and give us every time it will create new object and it will return. You can store it somewhere and you can further process it. Instead of employee, just change it to by. This is by and this is by. That's what we are actually dealing. You can store it and send it, or you can do it in a single line. So we'll do it in a single line. Driver dot find element. Find element is not asking for string. Find element is a method. It's not asking for string. Listen carefully. Driver dot find element, which will go to the web and find the element during the runtime. How are we going to find the element? We have to give the by type. Okay, by object I need to give. Instead of recreating the object every time, there will be some static methods. By dot id will return the by type. Okay, you can store it and send it, or you can directly send. We will try to send it directly, and then I'll show you how to store it and send it and all. Just get an idea. That's enough. So to understand this particular find element, whenever you see by, wherever you see by, don't get confused. You have to use by dot id or by dot name or by dot Xpath, by dot link. This method is what you will be using wherever you see by. Okay. Now This will try to find the element. Here you see the return type. Just listen the return type over here. Driver.find element. Argument is byte type. What is the return type? After colon, you will see the return type. What is the return type?
Web element.
Yeah, it shows some web element object. So initially, we will not know what is web element and all. It will return the object of web element. I'm going to give this by.id, and that ID I'm going to give, which is nothing but email. It's case sensitive. So what you do is go to the web page, inspect, double click here, copy the email and put it here. What this method will do is, with the current object is pointing to the browser, Chrome browser. With the current Chrome browser, it will try to find the element by.id, and it will find the element and get that element. Like right now, driver.find element will return some web element. That web element will be pointing to this particular HTML. Okay. So what is the plan over here? Okay. So here I wanted to type the mail ID, some mail ID I wanted to type here. Something like this I wanted to type in this particular field. To type it, there is a method. Find element returns some object element. You can see find element returns a web element. I have to give dot and keys. All this I can split it up and do it. I'll just do it in a single step. Dots and keys. Let me type some detail here. Now, if you see here, when I run the program, synchronization and all, which we will be discussing. Synchronization is a very important concept, which we have to discuss. Right now, we are planning on working on a single page, so not an issue. When you deal with 3-4 pages, you have to work on synchronization. It will wait for the page load. For page load, no time limit. It will wait for the page load. Once the page load is done, it will start checking for this element. If the element is not there, it will throw error. Right now, it's there, so it is working fine. Okay. The same statement. Okay. The same statement, what I can do is, I can do it by storing it in a different layers. No need to do. We can do it in a single line basically. For example, driver.find element will ask for byte. First, I need to prepare byte. For example, by.id. I'm going to give by.id. I'm going to give it as a string, which is nothing but email. Now, this ID method returns byte that I already shown you. You can store it in byte. The same way, I created this particular object. Get instance, I'm storing it in employee. So that's what I've done. First, we have to load the byte. If you want to do line by line, then I have to use driver.find element. I have to give LOC here. That's basically a byte type. If there is no method, then we will be creating an object for byte class and send that object address over here. Now this method will return that object address. However, how are we going to find it? Using this locator by type. Now find element returns your web element. You can see web element clearly. Now remember properly over here. I'll put it over here. Okay. ELE, basically this ELE. In this case, ELE will be pointing to some address. That address will be holding. ELE is a variable name. That's it. It's a type of web element that will be pointing during the runtime. That will be pointing to this input tag. That's the concept here. Okay, that will be pointing to this input tag, web element. With web element, you can do any operation. ELE dot. You can see any operation like clear the text box. Click on the element, okay, and then you can see get tag name. It will give you the current tag name. Current tag name is input tag, and then you can see is displayed or not. This any operations you can do, okay, with the web element. Right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm using send keys. Character sequence, don't get confused. It's a string only. Character sequence is nothing but a string only. We can put it in double quote. Okay. Instead of doing it in one line by line by storing it, I'm doing it in a single line. No point in storing it every time. It's not required to be stored also. Unwanted memory wastage only storing it. That's why we are doing it in a single line. Okay. First, everyone got an idea how to do operation by using find element. Okay. Let me do this. I'll fill the form and then I'll give you some practice on it. Okay. And maybe when we get a more than 2 hour session, I'll cover the whoops concept, because these introductions and all is important. Directly learning whoops concept, you will not understand why you learn whoops concept. So these introductions and all important. Right now I told you it's for cross browser testing. Now you will understand we have to learn interface properly. So now if I start explaining interface, inheritance interface, I can explain it quickly in 2 hours. Okay, it will take some time only. You have to start doing it. Okay, anyhow I don't want to keep on dumping lots of information. So we'll start doing the automation. It will parallelly will be understanding. Okay. Let me keep this as a backup for your reference. And then I'll create one more class and I'll do that. I'll just create a new class. Class name I'm going to give Facebook sign up, Facebook register demo, Facebook register demo with main method. In case if I want to launch the browser, first I need to do this system.set property. Okay, let me keep refactor this. Demo one launch browser. Demo to Facebook register. So it's renaming it so that it will be in order. To launch the browser, I just copy this script and keep it. First, I have to register the driver detail. Then I have to launch, create an object of Chrome driver. New Chrome driver will be trying to reach. You can see this Chrome driver and all we are not killing. You can see the Chrome driver will be running in the background. Lots of Chrome driver. You can see it is triggered, not killed properly. We have to kill it. Otherwise, Chrome driver will be running in the background. The CXE is basically triggered when you run this program. Let me do that. Driver dot get. I want to navigate to facebook.com. Now, after navigating to facebook.com, I wanted to click on this create new account. Let me inspect this. Create new account. See what's the tag name here. The tag name here is A. First thing what I will check is I'll check for ID. First, I'll check for ID, whether ID is there or not. Okay. If ID is there, then I'll be using it. If ID is not there, then I'll go for some other locator. As ID, you can see ID is there. But this ID is making you need to check something whether it is a meaningful name or not. Okay, so email ID equal to email or ID equal to auth user. Those are all some meaningful name will be there. Now you see something like 02 or 04, some random numbers will be there, or some random characters will be there, which you cannot make any sense. During that time, you can avoid ID, but first preference will give it to ID. But sometimes you'll have dynamic ID. Whenever you refresh the program, sometimes ID keeps on changing. Okay, so during that time, you can see some meaningless character was there. So I just tried refreshing, and you can see IDs keep on changing. Did you notice it? It's keep on changing, right? Live applications is what we will be using in the session, or you can bring up any applications available with you, that also we can use. So based on that only I'll be explaining. You can see here it keep on changing, right? So we cannot use ID in this case. So we'll go for next option. We'll go for name. Do you see name here? Name attribute. Do you see attribute called name? No, name is not there. So we can't use that. Class name and tag name, just for the time being, you avoid the class name and tag name. Tag name already I told you there are lots of 8. So it will first 8. When you write some locator, if the locator is duplicate, when there is a duplicate locator. Then it will it means find element. Then find element is the first element. Okay, it will pick the first element and click on it. I can do this. I can do this driver dot find element by dot tag name is there. Tag name a dot click I can do. Now if I run this program, semicolon you need to do, and then I'll try to run this program. You can see main method will be triggered, browser launch will happen. It will try to check for tag name A, and you can see it will click on the first anchor tag. First anchor tag is basically not enabled or anything, it's throwing error, not interactable some error. So first anchor tag, I guess somewhere here it is available. Yeah, this is the first anchor tag. Okay, some hidden items could be there, so it's not working. First anchor tag. Anyhow, we cannot rely on this. We have to specifically point to that particular create an account. I wanted to click on create new account. Let me inspect it. Okay, ID, name, class name, tag name I'm not planning to use as of now. It's going to bring up lots of issues only. ID name not possible here. ID is dynamic. Then we have link text and partial link text. Listen carefully. The link text and partial link text can be used only for tag name A. You can use only for tag name A. Just make a note of it. Link partial link text. Link is nothing but a tag. Here you see the tag name is A. Here the tag name is A. I can use link text or partial link text. You can see in between the tag name, you can see the text. Okay. What is the difference between link text and partial link text? Any idea? Straightforward only. Link text means you have to give the complete text. Partial link text means you can give some part of a text. Okay. For example, partial link text, new account or new. If it is unique, it will pick. If you have some unwanted spaces or some dynamic text along with this, during that time and all, we use partial link text. For example, inbox of 2, inbox of 1, this part will be keep on changing. During that time, I can use partial link text. Okay, right now it's a proper text. So let me do one thing. I'll try to use link text. To use it, it's not a big deal here. I have to just change it to by dot link text. Always the return type will be by dot link text. Create new account dot click. Let me click on this. It will wait for the page load. Once the page load is done, then it will click on that particular link. It will wait for the page load. If page load is happening for 20 second, 30 second, 1 minute, it will wait for the page load to complete. Then it will click on create new account. Got it? Now you see there is a text box. Let me fill this. Let me inspect it. And remember that right now you see this Chrome which is getting launched will not have any histories or cookies, like a private window. In this browser, if you try to inspect, it will always go to the body section. After HTML, header will be there. After header, you will have body section. Inside the body only, entire HTML will be there. Whenever you inspect it, it will go to the body section. So don't get confused. You try to inspect 2 times to get your element. Just when you hover on your element, it will highlight. Okay, or use this particular browser to inspect. The general browser which you use. And you can see here input is there, tag name, type, class. We cannot use by dot type and all because there is no method called by dot type. Only these methods are available. Which option we can use it here? Just check for ID. ID is not there. Next, you can check for name. Do you see name here? What's the name over here?
First name.
Yeah, first name. copy the first name, just copy the value, go to the script, and you can start writing the script. So driver dot every time you remember that you are sending a byte, and this find element returns the web element. Find element returns the web element. Okay. To get web element, there will be lots of scenario. It will ask for by. If it is asking for by, put by dot id by dot name. If it is asking for web element, put driver dot find element. That's what you need to understand. The send keys, how to give the send keys data over here. Data what I'm trying to send, I'll send it like my first name. Okay. Now, first name is done. Here you can see last name. I can go for last name. I'll same script only the name is going to be changed. Last name, data, if you want to change, you can change the data. That is done. Email address, let me inspect it. This is also having a name. No ID is there, so name is there. Area label and all you can use it, but you cannot directly use by dot area label. Only these locators are available. If these locators are not there, then we'll go for this advanced locator. Let me try to copy this name. First of all, name is there. Go to the script. You can see throughout your program, you will see lots of by dot, by dot, by dot. Basically, this find element you see throughout your program. The entire Selenium, you will be seeing this driver dot find element. Without that, you will not be doing you'll not doing any activities without that. For sure, you will be dealing with this at least once in a test case. Find element dot send keys. I want to send some mail ID here. Okay. Let me give some random mail ID. Then password. Password you can see here name is also there, ID is also there. First preference will give it to ID. If ID is having a proper meaningful characters, take it. Let me use ID here. Driver dot find element by dot ID that ID dot send keys, and I'll send the password password detail. I'll give. That's it. Next, drop down, and then a radio button is there, which we will try to work on. Then I'll click on sign up. Okay, till this I'll try to run it and check whether it's working fine or not. Synchronization issues would be there. We have to fix that. Sometimes you will get that error. You can see sometime it is throwing error, sometime it's working. Immediately what happened right now, listen carefully. See what is happening right now. You listen here. This is your synchronization issue. It will wait for the page load. After the page load, it will click on it will start doing the operation after the page load. So what's happening right now? Let me check the error. Exception in thread main. It says no such element exception. Okay, for which line? Unable to locate element. This name equal to 14. Let me keep it as 14. It's throw this exception, no such element exception. It says name equal to first name is not there. But you see there is a name, right? After inspecting, do you see the name here? This is an important synchronization. Even though I give a name, it's throwing error, right? So now what you guys need to understand is the basic synchronization. For page load, no time limit. For page load, no time limit. So if you see here, when I launch the browser, after launching the browser, I try to navigate to the URL. Okay. For page load, in the sense, this is your page load. This is your page load. For page load, no time limit. Once the page load is done, what we are doing, I'm trying to create a new. So after the page load, for sure this element will be there, right? Just listen. We are using a method called find element. Find element method takes only 0.5 seconds to check the presence of element. Check the presence of element. It's 0.5 second, which means half a second. Okay. 0.5 second only to check the presence of element. So after it will wait for the page load. Once the page load is done, immediately you are getting this element, correct? It's available, right? Once the page load is done, in 0.5 seconds, it will be able to see this element. So click on it. Now after clicking, what is happening? After clicking, what is happening right now? It's take more than a second to come, correct? After clicking on it, it takes actually a second to come. Before that, it is trying to find that element and throw the error. Understand why we are getting this error? It will wait for the page load, and you can see immediately once the page load is done, create new account will be there. So it click, and after clicking on it, how fast we are getting the error. If you notice it, in 0.5 second after clicking on create new account, it is trying to check for first name, which is not going to be there. Got it? Understood the problem first of all? Okay, great. Now, if you understand this, then everything can be solved going further with Selenium. Synchronization. Most of the people struggle in understanding synchronization only. Operation wise, it's going to be simple. How to type, how to select drop down and all, it will be simple. Synchronization is what you need to understand. To fix this, you have two options. One is unconditional wait. The other one is conditional wait. Okay. Unconditional wait is basically something called red.sleep. Let me do that. Unconditional wait. It is a class. This class is basically coming from Java. It is a class coming from Java. You can see, and sleep, static method, sleep. And it is asking for long data type. Okay, after integer, you might have seen long data type. Initially, I told you. And that integer long data type I need to give. Return type is void. Okay, time in millisecond. Let me give 3000, which means it will wait for 3 seconds. Or I'll keep it as 5 seconds. 3000. So it will wait for 5 seconds. Using this thread.sleep is not recommended. Okay, wait for the given time. Okay, it comes from, it's basically coming from Java library. Okay. And you can use it anywhere, not only in Selenium, anywhere you can use this thread.sleep coming from Java. Using this is not recommended. Why it is not recommended using this? When it will throw error like this after giving it over on it, throw the error, throw declaration you do. When you do thread.sleep in Java, it will throw error. During that 5 seconds, if this issue, what we need to do, whether you are planning to handle the error or throw it, let's throw this error. Whenever you hover on it, like if it is showing error, over on it, if it is asking to unhandle exception anything, just give add throw declaration. Now, let me run the script. So I added a sleep time, just waiting for 5 seconds after the clicking on create new account. Is it working fine? Right now you see, except re-enter email address, I did not fill it, I'll fill it. You can see it, it is working fine after putting a sleep time. Now, just understand this clearly. It is not recommended to be used. Why it is not recommended? You should not add on adding .sleep in your program. If you're adding .sleep in your program continuously, you can anyone can easily find that you're not good in working with Selenium. That is something which directly we can easily find it. Okay. So it's not recommended basically. Why it is not recommended? Only in unavoidable situation we'll try to give, but we rarely use this thread.sleep. So what is the reason? What is the drawback you feel adding thread.sleep? Yeah, so if you see here, generally you can understand this basically. If I keep on adding this thread.sleep, total execution time will be more. And even though this element is available in 1 second, it will wait for the given time. Suppose if this element comes in 10 seconds, it will throw error because we have given the delay of 5 seconds. And we will not understand the if network issue is there, it comes in 10 second or 20 second, it will throw error. So I wanted to give it as 30 second. Then 30,000 I'll give. So what will happen is 30 second it will wait. The total execution will go for a task and it will take a lot of time to complete the entire automation regression. So using this thread.slop is not at all recommended. Okay. For that, what happens is Selenium team is providing you a conditional waits. Selenium team, which is used only for Selenium component. Wherever you use this Selenium component, you can use the conditional wait. Lots of conditional wait is there. One is implicit wait. Other one is explicit wait. Final one is fluent wait. Okay. Right now, it's a good time to understand what is implicit wait. Once you launch the browser, immediately what you need to do basically is, once you launch the browser, maximize it. Mostly we'll try to test it in maximize and set implicit wait. That is what we do basically. Let's understand what is an implicit wait. Did we give any implicit wait here in the program? Just understand these 3 points. All of you understand why we are going for conditional wait first of all. The reason why we are going for conditional wait. Is that clear for everyone? Okay, now fine. Okay. Did we if you see, we did not add any implicit wait here. No code related to implicit wait, no method related to implicit wait. So when you don't give any implicit wait, the default implicit wait, notice properly, default implicit wait is nothing but 0 second here. Find element is 0.5 second. That is the concept or property of find element. Okay, don't get confused with that. If you don't give any implicit wait, that is 0. Okay. And once you do the implicit wait, it will be applicable for all find element. And one more method is there that's called find elements, which we will be discussing later. All find element and find elements method. Okay. Right now, you can see many places we are using find element method. In all the places, it will be applicable once implemented. Now let's take an example and you can understand it. Assume that I'm going to set the implicit wait as 30 seconds. I'm going to set it as 30 seconds. When I set it as 30 seconds, there will be 2 scenarios. One scenario, if element not present. Okay, that is one scenario. One scenario, sometimes element will be present. Element present. Okay. One scenario is element not present. One scenario is element is present. What's going to happen? It's a conditional wait, right? So you can easily figure out this. If element is present, then immediately it will do the operation. Immediately it goes for the next step. Immediately do the operation. If you are given any operation, it will do. Okay. Then immediately it will immediately find element. It will do the operation. Okay. Let me keep it. Then in operation. Operation is nothing but type selecting from the drop down. Operation will be done immediately if the element is present. Okay, let's keep that way. Now, if element is not present, what's going to happen? Then it will throw. It will check for 30 seconds and then throw the error. Okay, if element is not present, then it will check for 30 seconds and after that it will throw error. Okay. After that it will throw error. If you give it 40 seconds, it will check for 40 seconds and then it will throw error. Is that clear for you? These 2 points, is it clear for you? Okay. Right now, let me do one thing. I'll maximize and set the implicit wait. Once you launch the browser, immediately maximize it with the implicit wait. Syntax, I'll tell you, just listen here. See, lots of methods I'll be using. Driver dot manage. Manage return some option object. Manage is returning some option object. From that I can call a method. Like the way I split up, do the driver dot find element, storing and doing it, right? So this task I do it right. Same thing I can do for going further for all the operation. Otherwise, I can merge everything in a single line. This is what recommended. So listen here. Now driver dot manage dot window method. It will return a window object. From the window object, I can call a method called maximize. Okay, and for setting the implicit weight, driver dot manage. For managing window and managing the timeouts and all, you can use this manage method. Driver dot manage dot timeout dot implicit weight. Okay, implicit weight. What is the argument it's asking for right now? What class it shows as an argument? You see different classes in Selenium. Okay, what class it shows right now? Implicit weight.
Timeouts.
A timeout is return type. Within the bracket, what it shows? Argument. In bracket,
Duration.
it shows something like duration. Find element shows something like by. You can see find element shows something else like by. And find element ask for by. So for that we give by.id. Going further, you can keep this in mind. Implicit weight is asking for duration. Wherever you see duration, you have to give duration the class dot. There will be static method. You can see of minutes, of seconds, of hours. You can give that. Return type will be duration. Let me do of seconds. You can see of second is a method asking for the time long, and then return type is duration. Wherever you see these kind of classes like duration, by, you don't want to spend time in creating the object, use that class and call the static method. Mostly that method will return the object. Not for everything, but most of the scenario handled in Selenium is done in this way. Duration dot of second, I have to give the argument long. Return type is duration object. Let me give the time as 30 seconds. Okay, this is how I have to set the implicit weight. Got it? Duration is a class. This class is having a This class is having a static method. So I'm using a static method called of second. Okay, that method is basically going to return type. You can see duration. Okay, duration object is what is going to be written. That is what I'm giving it over here. Okay, it's a static method like employee dot get employee instance. Same concept only. That will return the employee object. This is returning a duration object. Duration. See, everything is not a string. That is something which I'll be keep on informing you. Just make that comfortable on. Okay, so try to work on again, like go back and check the classes and object which we discussed in the last week. You will get more idea about classes and object again and again. Whenever you see that classes and object, you will be able to explore more things again and again. Okay, now I've set the implicit weight. Let me run this program. After setting the implicit weight, you can see here it will click on create an account. You can see how fast the response is. If I give a sleep time before filling the first name, it took a lot of time to complete. Now what will happen is it will try to wait for the page load. Once the page load is done, immediately it will click, like this element will be there, so it clicks on it immediately in 0.5 second. Now it will start checking for this element. It will check for this element. It will not be there in first 0.5 second. It will not be there. Again it will check. Okay, if it is there, it will do the operation. Suppose if I give first name 123, do we have a name called first name 123? Do we have this name in the application? It's not there, right? Now see here what's going to happen right now. See, it's not throwing error immediately. When it will throw error? but it started checking for that element. When we will
After
get the
30
error?
seconds.
Yeah, after 30 seconds only you'll get the error. Okay, so which means if you notice it clearly, which means it keep on checking for the element, right? It will check for 30 seconds and then it will throw error, which means right now it's not throwing error. So continuously it's checking for the element name equal to first name 123, first name 123, and after 30 seconds it will give the same error, no such element exception, and then this error. Right now it will throw error after 30 seconds. Okay, if the element is there, no point in waiting for 30 seconds. It's a conditional wait. It will complete the operation. Now, if you see here, if the element is not present, it will keep on checking for the element. How frequently it checks for the element, that's called pooling time. That is basically called pooling time, which is nothing but 0.5 second. Or wherever I mention 0.5 second, in Google and all, it will be mentioned like millisecond. Okay, don't get confused. It's a second what I mentioned for easy understanding. This is nothing but how frequently it checks the element. You cannot modify this pooling time here for implicit wait. Okay, so when it comes to implicit wait, point number 1 and 2 is important. If element is there, it will do the operation. If it is not there, it will check for 30 seconds and then it will throw error. How frequently it checks for the element? First 0.5 second it checks for first name, second 0.5 second, third 0.5 second. If it comes, immediately it will do the operation and go for next step. If it is not coming, after 30 seconds, it will throw error. Okay, so that's the concept here. This three concept. Say for you what is implicit wait. This is one of the important concept. You can take an example and you can explain. Whoever asks you the implicit wait, take some example and explain. So it will be easy for you to explain. Clear with this? And you can see the importance also over here. Implicit wait importance also. See, we are using a latest version of Selenium. In latest version, they upgraded it to use duration. In previous version, we had one more option, implicit wait, one more option like long and time unit that is not used. If you see this code, don't get confused. It's same only, but this code is removed from the, it's going to be removed from in the upcoming release. The other option, which is given over here, that is basically going to be removed. Use this. Okay. Okay, now we have something called drop down. Okay, and then radio button is there. Let me click on radio button custom and show you. Drop down, I'll tell you later. Let me inspect this radio button. This radio button I'll inspect. See what is the tag name here for radio button.
Input.
Yeah, so you can see it has a input is the tag name, and it has a attribute like type, class, name, value, ID is there. Okay, let's understand this. Let me inspect this radio button also. Female radio button also I'll inspect. You can see here also there is a type. Actually, it's quite difficult. Nothing is matching. You can see here input, type, and like input is the tag name, type attribute equal to radio. For this also type attribute is equal to 0, and for almost this also type attribute is 0. Radio class, same class. Name, you can see common name. When it comes to radio button and checkbox, there's a chance you might have a common name. See, at a time you can select any one radio button only. Any one radio button only. To link this radio button, development team will give a common name to link the radio button. So you, okay, right now if I use name equal to driver.find element by dot name sex dot click, if I do what, which option will be selected, or what will happen if I do that? What will happen if there is a duplicate? It will always click on the first option. Basically, it will click on the female always. Okay, so we cannot rely on it. And there is something called value. Okay, you can see there is something called value equal to 1, which is female, value equal to 2, which is pointing to male, and there is value equal to -1, which is pointing to custom. ID is there, but you can see here option will be there, dock to bottom. Click three dot, dock to bottom. You do if it is changing the view to a mobile or it's not comfortable. Click on this three dot, dock to bottom, or dock left, right, dock out, anything, whichever is comfortable for you, you can do that. Let me inspect this again, and you can see there is an ID. But these ID we cannot relate. It's not making any sense over here. If I refresh, there's a chance it might change. We cannot use ID, which is constant, which you feel it as a proper attribute in this case.
Value.
Value is there. Okay, now if you notice it, yeah, value we can use. Now if you notice it, there is no method called value. We don't have a method. We have ID name, class name is there, but it's not going to help. Tag name also not going to help. Link, partial link, text, you cannot use it because it's not a tag. See name, if I use, what will happen? Let's use name. Let me use name. Driver dot find element by dot name. Says name as 6 or something, I guess. Dot pick I'll do. And then I'll run this program. See which option is getting selected right now. See, I want to select custom, but it's selected female. Okay. The reason why it's selected female is this radio button is having the name as 6, and this radio button is also having the name as same. Okay, and this is also same. So repeated name. So if I do that, it will use the first one to click on it. Got it? So name is also not reliable. Value is something which is available. Value for custom is nothing but -1. Value for male is 2. Value for female is 1. Got it? Now, let's understand how to use value. I'll give you an introduction to Xpath. Make a note of it. Okay. Introduction to Xpath. Make a note of it. Right now, basic locators is not helping us. Link text, partial link text can be used only for tag name here, so I cannot use it. Xpath is what I'm going to explain right now. Just listen carefully. See, Xpath is something which is used and CSS I'll keep. The Xpath is something which is used for filtering the data in XML document. What happened in development is transferring the data from one environment to another environment. XML document will be used. Nowadays, mostly JSON used. Earlier, or some application is still using XML format to transfer the data from one environment to another environment. Now, all the data will be collected in this format. There will be tag name, attribute, value, all these will be there. Okay. Sorry. You can see here. To filter the data in this XML document, this concept is used. XML concept, basically Xpath concept is used. But the same concept, we can use it to filter the data in the HTML also. Because HTML also looks like an XML only. Okay. Let me give some basic Xpath. Absolute, relative, Xpath and all it's there. Right now we are discussing about relative. We'll see about this Xpath in the next class detailing. Right now, I'll just give some basic Xpath to find the element. / tag name will filter that particular tag name with attribute equal to value. Just keep this Xpath in mind. One more Xpath I'll give you, tag name text. Sometimes I will try to filter based on that. Using these two Xpath itself, almost you can cover 60% of the element, the web page. Now let's take this. I want to write the Xpath using the value attribute. What's the tag name here? The custom is what I wanted to use. The tag name is input. Okay. And let me open this document. I'll put it over here. / input. Square bracket. Rate. attribute. I want to use the attribute value. Value is the attribute, right? Yeah, correct. Value equal to, within single quotes, I can give the single quotes you use because double quotes is already used for string comparison. So it will be quite difficult if you put double quotes, use single quote, which is nothing but -1. Yeah, that's correct. Got it, right? So now after writing the XPath, it's always important to validate it. Validate it, copy the XPath what you write, go to the inspect section and give control F. Go to inspect section and give control F. Here, give control F, and then you will be able to see the option. You don't paste it in below section, there will be filter. Filter is something different. You have to go here, control F. Whatever the XPath you write, you can validate it in Chrome. Validate XPath in Chrome by using control plus F on inspect screen. Okay, that's the Chrome it will support. Just check that. Now I am going to give control F and by string select or XPath, I'll paste the XPath. Once I paste the XPath, it should show 1 of 1, or your element should be first one. You can see it points to the element 1 of 1. So valid XPath. I can copy this XPath, go to the script here. I cannot use this, right? So I'll just remove this. By dot XPath. The XPath expression, I have to put it as a string. Return type here is by. Okay. So by will be returned. Find element will take care of the rest of the thing. Using that by object, find element will try to find the element. It will give you the web element. In this web element, I want to perform a click. Okay. So you can see it clicked on the custom. Drop down, I'll tell you. You guys don't want to work on drop down as of now. Drop down, I'll tell you. Okay. We have to understand few more OOPS concept for drop down that I'll tell you. Let me click on sign up. Okay, it will throw some error, re-enter and all. Let me click on sign up. To click on sign up, let me inspect it first of all. Now here. What is the tag name here?
Button.
Yeah, so tag name is button. We will check for ID. ID is there, but that's quite difficult. Tag name is button. ID is there, but it can see it is something like 09 or something is there. So it should be dynamic. We cannot rely on ID. Next, we'll check for name. Do we have name?
App submit.
Yeah, so we can use
No.
name to click on it. Name is there actually. Just check it. Let me inspect it. I can show you. See here, button, type, class, name is there. So we can use name to click on it. Okay. Assume that there is no name. Let me remove for the time being. Removed in my screen. If I refresh, it will come back. Assume that there is no name. How can we identify this element?
Link text.
Yeah, so that is something which you get confused always. See, link text and partial link text you can use only for tag name A. It has a text actually, but it is a text from the button, not from the link. Okay, so link is nothing but this anchor tag. A tag will be there. A tag will have the text. Then only I can use link text or partial link text. Got it? Here, the tag name is button. Okay, that is something always when you are new, you will get confused. That's not a problem, but it's a text only. What you found is it's a text only, but it is not coming under A tag. Okay. To overcome that issue, what we will do is we'll write the XPath using text. XPath using text. Okay, let me do that. Tag name here is button. Bracket text syntax text equal to the text. I can put it in single quote. Complete text I need to give. Sign up. Let me copy this. Verify it. Go here. Control F. Paste it. It shows two elements. It shows 2 element. Which one will be taken actually? Let me refresh it and check it. It shows 2 element actually. Right now you see 1 of 2, and this is 2 of 2. Which will be taken right now? 2 element it shows basically. I think one is for mobile view it shows, but that is the second one. Our element is the first one, so it will take the first one only. Got some idea about this? It will take the first one. It's better to use name only. It's better to use name. Let me try to implement it. Our element is first element. I'm just implementing this. A drop down, as I told you, I have to explain a bit more on constructor part. Once I explain that constructor part in the next class, I can go ahead with drop down. Okay, you can see it clicked on sign up, so we got this error. Understood? Till this it's clear for you, right? Okay. So any doubts with this? You guys can practice the same thing, like create an account, you try to finish up the same thing, and then a few assignments I'll give you. You can check on these sites, like sites like orangehrm.com. Let me give some demo sites, initial practice, or you can do this site. Go to meeting, you do go to meeting.com. You can go for this exercise you do. One is what I did in the session, complete that. Other one task you do, what you need to do is go to this go to.com, click on this accept recommended setting, and then you can click on explore product. Okay. The link I'll ping you 1 minute. And do this option. Just go to this site. You can just go to this site. Okay, once you open the site in incognito window, I'll open it in incognito window. When I open it, it will give you some pop-up. First of all, some cookies or something you'll be getting. Click on recommended setting and then click on try free. Steps I'll upload it in the drive link.
Hello.
You can click on try free.
हेलो.
Yeah.
हाँ मैं पहुंचा 5 मिनट में निकल ही रहा.
Just check on this. You can go link which I pinged you. Just go to that link and then try to click on try free. After clicking on try free, you will have the option first name, last name, business email, phone number, create password, company size will be there. You can try to choose company size. We did not discuss it, right? So fill the field except company size and click on start my trial. This task you try to complete it. Okay. Remaining maybe we will I'll send the assignment details in some time. You can check it in the portal drive link. Okay. Try to complete or start with your application, the application which you have you're handling it for manual testing. Start exploring over the basic activities. Okay. So that's all for today's session. Today's session is the basement for starting with the Selenium concepts. Okay, just go through the synchronization concept. It's implicit weight. Just Google it and search for implicit weight and understand. And try to implement it and pick it. Fine. That's all for today's session. In the next session, we'll do few hands-on on live applications. If possible, you bring up your applications also, which we will discuss. Just inform others also to watch today's video to start with Selenium. Okay. Fine. And if you have any doubts, you can post the. You can also create a group and let me know. Okay. You can create a group and add Lakshmi. Lakshmi will be able to add me also in the group. Okay. Fine. See you in the next class, everyone. Bye everyone.